Okay, so I've titled this worksheet 2 for market equilibrium on ManageBack. So I'm going to try and do this as quick as I can, without, of course, sacrificing any, knowledge, education, learning, but as quick as I can, hopefully within half an hour. Okay, so the very first question says we've got consider the following demand and supply functions. QD, quantity demanded, equals 120 minus 2p, and QS equals minus 60 plus 4p. Calculate the quantity demanded and supplied in the table below. Right, well what I'm going to do is, I don't have enough room there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this here. So I've got QD equals 120 minus 2 times 0. QD equals 120 minus 0 equals 120. So the first thing we're going to do here is at a price of 0, we've got 120. Now, straight away, I know that as price goes up by 1, quantity demanded falls by 2. If price goes up by 10, quantity demanded is going to fall by 20. So the next one should be 100, and then 80, and then 60, and then 40, and then 20, and then 0, right? But I'm going to work it out just so we're all clear anyway. Okay, and I won't be as potentially neat as otherwise I could be. QD equals 120 minus 2p. That's at a price of 10. 120 minus 2 times 10 equals 120 minus 20 equals 100. Surprise, surprise. I guarantee you the next one's 80. QD equals 120 minus 2p equals 120 minus 2 at a price of 22 times 20 equals 120 minus 40 equals 80. QD equals, now I'm doing it at a price of 30, 120 minus 2p equals 120 minus 2 times 30, 120 minus 60 equals 60. Excuse me, 60. It is going to be 40, 20 and 0, but I'm just going to prove it anyway. So we've got QD equals 120 minus 2p equals 120 minus 2 times 40 equals 120 minus 80 equals 40. QD equals 120 minus 2p equals 120 minus 2 times 50 equals 120 minus 100 equals 20. And then we've got QD equals 120 minus 2p, 120 minus 2 times 60, 120 minus 120 equals 0. So we've got 40, 20 and 0. Okay? 40, 20 and 0. Now, excuse me, the next one is the quantity supplied. So we get rid of this sheet and we start on one of these. And the quantity supplied is minus 60 plus 4p. Okay, and we have to do 0 up to 60. Okay, so QS. Plus 0 equals minus 60. Okay, now what you could write down is minus 60, or you could just write down 0. I don't particularly mind, but I am not going to be drawing that part of it, okay, because it's not a good idea to. It'll confuse you only. Equals minus 60 plus 4 times 10, writing all over the place, minus 60 plus 40 equals minus 20. Okay, going up again to 20 now. Try and keep it neat. So we have QS equals minus 60 plus 4 times 20 equals minus 60 plus 80 equals 20. So now we're starting to get into the positive range. Okay, equals 20. All right, now we're up to 30. So we've got QS, I may have been saying QD, forgive me if I was, plus 4 times 30 equals minus 60 plus, is that 120, equals 60. All right, so we're doing fine here. We're going up in 40s every time. The next one should be 100. Okay, we've got QS minus 60 plus 4 times 40 equals minus 60 plus 160 equals 100. Okay. Next one should be 140 because we're going up in 40s. QS equals minus 60 plus, I'll just write 4p equals minus 60 plus 4 times 50 equals minus 60 plus, what's that, 200 equals 140. And that's correct. The next one's 180. Write it in now, but I'll work it out just to show you. So QS was minus 60 plus 4p equals minus 60 plus 4 times 60 equals minus 60 plus 240 equals 180. And there we go. And we've got the 180 there. Okay, so all we did all the way along was just plug in the prices for P. Okay, that's all we did. Now, use the data above to explain the market equilibrium position. Right, market equilibrium occurs at a price of P equals $30. And how do I know that? Because quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. That's how I know that, okay? That's the only way that we know that, okay? Now, it occurs where QD equals quantity supplied. There's no tendency for price to change. So the equilibrium price is 30, and then QEQ equals 60 units, okay? Now, plot the data on the grid below. Okay, so the thing is, we don't need to work out anything because we've got all the prices and quantities, right? So at a price of 60, we've got 0. Well, I've only got up to 40 for quantity demanded, so I need to plot a 40. So I'm going to use my pen here now. There, and then also at a price of 0, we've got 120, which is here. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to plot this diagram. Obviously, you would be given much bigger graph paper and stuff like that in the exam, but sure, we're here for a good time, not a long time, so we won't get stressed about it. Now, the next one is here. So I'm going to go at a price of 20. I have a quantity supplied of 20, which is here. And then at a price of, let's go 40, I have 100. Okay, so I'm just tracing up along. Okay, done. Okay. And take our time. There we go. And there's the supply curve. Now, it asks that using the demand and supply functions, calculate the market equilibrium price. Well, like, okay, I can do that. But looking at the graph, we can see that we're right here because we have an equilibrium price of 30 and an equilibrium quantity of 60. And I will just put that in, but I shall use the functions anyway because I prefer using the algebra method. I hate drawing graphs, and I find that it's so much easier to make a mistake in graphs than it is in algebra. That's what I find anyway. All right, so we should try to be ambidextrous and be able to use both ways. So don't forget now, in equilibrium, QS equals QD. Okay, QS is what? Minus 60 plus 4P equals QD is 120. And where am I getting these numbers from? I'm getting them from here. Okay, that's where I'm getting them. 120 minus 2P. Minus 2P. You're given those in the question. I'm going to bring the minus 2P over and bring the minus 60 over. So I get 4P plus 2P equals 120 plus 60. I get 6P equals 180. Divide both sides by the number before the letter we're trying to find. The letter we're trying to find is P. The number before it is 6. And I believe that's 30. And I'm right. We've seen it on the graph and we've seen it in the table. Now, I'm not going to waste my time. Well, maybe I will. But hopefully you'd be able to see that the equilibrium quantity has to be 60 because we've worked out all of this. But I'll do it anyway. QD equals, where are we? 120 minus 2P equals 120 minus 2 times 30 equals 120 minus 60 equals 60 units. Okay, and there you go. All right, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing crazy about this, guys. You really do have this. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Right now, look, I didn't write this out. This is ridiculous. Okay, so basically what happens here is at a price above the equilibrium price. So here, quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. Okay, now that means that the stocks, the amount of goods that a firm has in stock is rising and they can't sell it at that price. The only way they can incentivize people to buy the good is in order to reduce the price. Okay, so that's the first thing, right? That's what causes it to move from there to there. As the price falls, quantity demanded increases, law of demand, and quantity supplied decreases, law of supply. And we're back at this point here. Okay, there isn't enough room to write this in. At a price below the equilibrium price, the quantity supplied is less than the quantity demanded. So loads of people are trying to buy something that there isn't enough supply of to meet the demand at that price. In order to achieve this, in order to try to get more of the good, in order to try to secure themselves getting the good, they bid the price upwards. And what happens is in the shops, the shopkeepers is like, oh my God, like these are selling out like hotcakes. We should up the price because they're just selling out so quickly and then people want more and more. And they will continue to up the price. As that happens, the law of supply, as price rises, quantity supplied increases, and as price rises, quantity demanded decreases. There's a movement up the supply curve, a movement up the demand curve. This will happen until we reach the equilibrium quantity here, until quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. Now, I see I'm on just over 10 minutes. Shouldn't take too much longer here. Okay, this is the easiest thing in the world, right? And what I mean by that is, if you find it difficult, that's okay, but you will find it easy at the end. In equilibrium, QS equals QD, okay? QS is minus 10 plus 2P. QD is 90 minus 2P. Bring the minus 2P over here. I have 2P plus 2P equals 90 plus 10. I have 4P equals 100. I'm going to bring this over here. That's 4P divided by 4 equals 100 divided by 4. Cancel, cancel. P equals 25. Now, in order to find the quantity, equilibrium quantity, I could plug it into the quantity demanded or the quantity supplied. It really doesn't matter. This one, I'm just going to plug it into the quantity supplied because it's further to the right. So equals minus 10 plus 2P. QS equals minus 10 plus 2 times 25. Okay, QS equals minus 10 plus 50. QS equals 40. That is the equilibrium quantity. PEQ equals 25. QEQ equals 40. Okay, and just look at this here. We could have plugged it into the demand curve. 90 minus 50, which is 2 times 25. 90 minus 50 is 40. We're right. Okay, so again, we've got QS equals QD. QS equals 10 plus 4P. QD equals 90 minus 6P. Keep the 4P here, bring the minus 6P over, that becomes a plus 6P, and then I have 90 minus 10, so I have 10P equals 80. Bring this up here, I get 10P over 10 equals 80 over 10, cancel, cancel, P equals 8. And again, what do? Well, I substitute this into either quantity demanded or quantity supplied. I did supplied last time. I'm going to do demanded this time. 90 minus 6P. 90 minus 6P. So QD equals 90 minus 6 times 8. QD equals 90 minus, and I believe that's 48. So QD, and I think, am I right? That's 50. I think it's 42, and I'm just going to check it just to be sure, okay? 90 minus 48, and it is 42. So the equilibrium price equals 8, and the equilibrium quantity equals 42 units. Okay, now on to the next one. Okay, QS equals QD. QS is 20 plus 2P. QD is 50 minus 8P. Bring the minus 8 over. I get 2P, which stays here. Minus 8 becomes a plus 8P equals 50, and I'm making sure minus 20, and that's right. I got 10P equals 30. Bring this up here. 10P divided by 10 equals 30 divided by 10. P equals 3. I did QD the last time. I'm going to do QS this time, which is 20 plus 2P, which equals 20 plus 2 times 3, which equals 20 plus, I am doing QS, yes I am, 6, which equals 26. So the equilibrium price equals 3, equilibrium quantity equals 26. Okay, again, QS equals QD. Minus 50 plus 3P equals 60 minus 2P. bring the keep the 3p here and add the 2p over, bring that, bring it over the equal sign, change its sign, and I have 60 plus 50. Okay, so I have 5p equals 110, and I believe that's 22. 5p equals 110. Divide both sides of the equation by the number before the letter you're trying to find, and I will just make sure I'm right. And I am. Okay, equals 22. I did quantity supplied last time. I'm going to do quantity demanded this time. Quantity demanded equals 60 minus 2p. Quantity demanded equals 60 minus 2 times 22. Quantity demanded equals 60 minus 44. Quantity demanded, I believe that is 16. I'm rather tired now. It's surprisingly late at night, so I'm going to check everything. 60 minus 44, and that is 16. The equilibrium price equals 22. Equilibrium quantity equals 16 units. Okay, we're still going. We're still going strong, lads. Okay, so we've got, again, QS. This is equilibrium. This is how you find out the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity, okay? You set quantity demanded equal quantity supplied because that's the definition of what equilibrium is. Quantity demand, or quantity supplied, is 20 plus 2p. Quantity demanded is 50 minus 4p. Okay, we've got 2p plus, bring this over the equal sign, change its sign, equals 50 minus 20. Okay, we've got 6p equals 30. Okay, so 6p divided by 6 equals 30 divided by 6. P equals 5. I did demand there. I'm going to do quantity supplied this time. Equals 20 plus 2p, 20 plus 2p. Quantity supplied equals 20 plus 2 times 5. Quantity supplied equals 20 plus 10. Quantity supplied equals 30. So the equilibrium price equals 5. Equilibrium quantity equals 30 units. Okay, for the last one on this section, it's not this whole unit. I said I'd keep it under 30 minutes. I think I'll definitely succeed in that. Okay, so we've got QS equals QD. We've got minus 50 plus 6p equals 100 minus 1.5p. Okay, I'm going to bring the minus 1.5 over. I'm going to keep the 6p here, but bring this over, so that's going to change its sign into a positive, and that equals 100. I'm going to bring the minus 50 over. That's going to make it a plus 50. So I've got 7.5p equals 150. I'm going to do this here, 7.5, and that is... Right, what a time for my calculator not to be working. All right, I'll actually have to use my phone. Now, forgive me. Okay, so we have 150 divided by 7.5. Is that like, I don't know what it is, 20 am, right? Okay, so we have P equals 20. All right, now again, I used quantity supplied last time. I'm going to use quantity demanded this time because it does not matter. Okay, so it's 100 minus 1.5 times P, which is quantity demanded equals 100 minus 1.5 times 20, which I believe is 30. QD equals 100 minus, and I'm going to go 20 by 1.5, and that equals 30. I was right. Okay, which is 30, so QD equals 70. So what we've got here is the equilibrium price equals $20, and then equilibrium quantity equals 70 units. Okay, now we've just got one more page, right? And this is kind of silly, so I'm going to draw the two things in the one diagram. All right, so basically what we've got here is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a demand curve and a supply curve, okay? And all we're saying here, actually, I will do them in different colors. Okay, and that's supply. All right, so that's supply one, that's demand one. Okay, a manufacturer of strawberry flavored donuts experiences higher levels of demand due to a very successful advertising campaign. Uses supply and demand diagram to explain this scenario. Okay, well basically what's happening here now is, and actually I'll use the black pen to kind of show this. Okay, so this is the first equilibrium price. Okay, This is the second equilibrium price. Or sorry, that's a complete lie. This is the first equilibrium quantity. That's 1 and that's 1. Okay, so after a successful advertising campaign, there's no reason for the slope per se to change. So this is D2. And what we're saying is there's a new equilibrium price and a new equilibrium quantity. Okay, that's exactly what we're saying here. Okay, that's exactly what we're saying here. So we've got QEQ2, and you can see that, and PEQ2. Now, I may have drawn this a bit too high, but sure, it doesn't matter. We'll get over it. And now the next thing here, it says, as a result of a small plague, some strawberry crops are destroyed, hence affecting the supply of strawberry flavoured donuts. Illustrate this in the diagram above. Okay, so what we do then is we say there's an inward shift in the supply curve. So I'm just going to draw something akin to this and call it S2. And what do we notice again? But we notice that when supply is reduced, and that's obvious enough that the quantity decreases, but also the price increases. Okay, now this actually seems to be going right back down onto the first one. So QEQ1/3. Okay, that's all that's saying. Nothing crazy there, guys. Don't worry too much about that. We'll be covering way more of that in normal class. Okay. Solve the linear function of demand curve from the following. Yeah. Okay. Well, we've already said this. Well, first of all, A equals 600. Okay. So what we have is QD equals A plus BP. So QD equals 600 plus BP. And another one that we can do here is we can put in 50 is the price where it touches here, and 0. So go 0 equals 600 plus B times 50. So 0 equals 600 plus 50B. Bring the plus 50B over. Minus 50B equals 600. Divide both sides by the number before, the letter we're trying to find, and we get B equals, what's that? Minus 12. So QD equals 600 minus 12P. Okay, that's all we're doing there. All right, we're just using the knowledge that we already have in order to answer these questions. If you're unsure if I'm going too fast, please obviously talk to me in class. Okay, calculate the equilibrium price and quantity traded if the demand function is that and the supply function is that. No problem. QS equals QD. That's how we find equilibrium price and quantity. Okay, QS equals minus 100 plus 8P, and that equals 600 minus 12P. I'm going to bring this minus 100 over. I'm going to bring this minus 12P over. I get 8P plus 12P equals 600 plus 100. I'm going to be very economical with the space over here, which is 20p equals 700. Bring this over here. 20p divided by 20 equals 700 divided by 20. And that is 575, so p is 35. P equals 35. Okay, and then I just see the quantity demanded, so I'm going to use that one. QD equals 600 minus 12p. QD equals 600 minus 12 times 35. Okay, QD equals 600 minus 350 and another 70. That's 420, I think. Okay, 12 by 35 equals 420. That's right, minus 420. D equals 180 units. Okay, that's the equilibrium quantity, and this here is the equilibrium price. Let me just check that. If I put it into QS of 35 minus 8 times 35 equals minus 100 equals 180. That's right. Sorry, I should have done it on my screen, but yeah, I was just checking on my calculator. Sorry, guys. Using the same demand and supply function in question 4, which is here, calculate calculate the excess demand or supply if the price is 20. Now look, people like to get crazy when answering these questions. Don't, right? I'm going to calculate the quantity demanded first, right? At a price of 20. So that's 600 minus 12p, right? Look, just think about this. The equilibrium was 35. This new price is below the equilibrium. So we know there's going to be an excess demand. So this demand number that I get here, I guarantee is bigger than the supply. QD equals 600 minus 12 times 20. My God, equals 600 minus 240. I'm going to try and squeeze this in here now, guys. This is crazy. Okay, 600, all I'm doing here is 600 minus 240 equals 360, okay? That's the quantity demanded. I really hope you can see that. That's a 6. Okay, that's a 6 there, all right? The quantity supplied equals, at a price of 20, is here. So it's minus 100 plus 8p, which quantity supplied equals minus 100 plus 8 times 20. Quantity supplied equals minus 100 plus 160 equals 60. So quantity demanded equals 360. Quantity supplied equals 60. So excess, I don't have room to write here, demand equals 300, which is 360 minus 60. Okay, that's what it is, 300 units. Using the same demand supply function, calculate the excess demand or supply if price is 40. Right, well, we know that the equilibrium price is 35. We know the law of demand says that as price rises, quantity demanded falls. So, and as price rises, quantity supplied rises. That's the law of supply. So, therefore, we know there's going to be an excess supply, just using our logic, okay? So what we've got here is QS equals minus 100 plus 8p. QS equals minus 100 plus 8 times 40. QS equals minus 100 plus 8 4s 32, 340, 320 even. QS equals 220. And that's about right. Then we go QD, okay, equals 600 minus 12p. 600 minus 12p. QD equals 600 minus 12 times 40. QD equals 600 minus 480. QD equals 120. So QS is 220. QD is 120. So QS minus QD equals excess supply, which is 220 minus 120 equals 100 units extra supplied. Okay, excess supply. And that is me done. Okay, guys, I really hope that helped. Thank you so much for your attention. And any questions you have, of course, please come to me as soon as possible in class. Thanks very much.